Hi, everybody, and welcome to this Thursday's The Missing Stream. If you have found yourself here on either Facebook or the website, then you are in for an update on a very interesting story. One of probably the craziest stories that I've seen or heard, while doing this series, The Missing. And this story is about a man named Christopher Flores who vanished under extremely, extremely suspicious circumstances. His mom's going to join me in a little bit, but first, I want to play for you the missing piece that aired on him. Now, this aired before I took over The Missing by my former colleague, Caitlin Montes. And she's no longer with us, but she did an excellent job on this piece. I took the franchise over from her. And for those of you who don't know, The Missing is a segment that airs every other Monday. And Fox 26 has really taken the time to make sure we're highlighting the thousands of people who go missing from the greater Houston area, their stories, the circumstances surrounding their disappearance, and what their families are going through. So we've really been dedicated to this. I took the franchise over, but Caitlin did an excellent job on this piece. And before we bring in Christopher's mother, I want to go ahead and give you guys just a brief synopsis of this package and kind of what happened with Christopher. So take a look.
Gloria is opening up about her son, Christopher Flores, who she describes as having been a fixture in his neighborhood near Houston's White Oak Bayou, just north of the Loop. Him and his truck.
Everybody knows his truck, but ever since he was a little boy, he loved cars.
Just a quick glance at the machine shop that I built. Mama didn't raise no dummy.
He was fixing the truck to go to the Autorama. He had previously won first place.
But on Saturday, August 21st, 2021, Christopher told friends he's going to meet up with someone. The following Monday, his mother gets a call from his apartment complex.
They needed to get in touch with Christopher. His apartment had caught on fire. He was not answering his phone. I went to his job. The supervisor says, "Miss Flores, we have been trying to call him all day yesterday." And that's very unusual for Christopher.
She reports him missing and soon receives a tip. A woman claiming her relative knows what happened to Christopher.
The relative had said that there was harm done to him.
And this was shortly after Christopher had given a tip to the family of this woman about a missing loved one of their own.
Right.
That's right. Christopher went missing after giving this family a tip on Emmanuel Perez, another missing person case recently featured on Fox 26. Emmanuel had been missing for months. Suddenly, his house also caught on fire.
That's where he dropped her off, at the house. And
At Emmanuel's house?
At Emmanuel's house.
Another twist in the plot. Emmanuel's relative with that ominous warning about Christopher, that is who Christopher had dropped off at Emmanuel's house the night before it went up in flames.
He even messaged me and said, "Mom, the house is burning." After he mentioned that, he went missing 2 weeks later.
But it gets even stranger. That relative is who the family believes Christopher went to meet the night he vanished. Families soon got another call that this person had made another comment about Christopher.
I got him. I did him good. He's in the storage right now. He's in storage.
About Christopher? So you must have gone right to...
Oh yeah, that night, friends. I mean, they all swarmed over to that public storage down the road.
And what did you find?
Nothing. But you can't get into the storage. Time passed and that public storage caught on fire.
3 fires, 2 missing people.
Yeah, Caitlin Monte really doing an excellent job on this bizarre story. I do want to go ahead and bring in now Gloria Flores, who is the mother of Christopher. Gloria, how are you? And thank you for being with us today.
I'm fine. Just emotional seeing that piece again.
I can imagine. I mean, this is probably one of the most bizarre missing persons cases I've seen, because all of the moving parts to it. I mean, your son was dating a woman
Right.
to kind of break down the piece. And the woman that he was kind of, going on dates with had a family member, her family member, who came up missing.
Correct.
He then thought he had a tip about
Right.
what could have happened to her missing family member. And a
Right.
couple of weeks after he gave someone a tip, he
He.
came up missing.
Yes.
And then not only did the family member's home get set on fire, your son's apartment was set on fire.
Yes, it was, and that's what's unusual, because the woman that he was dating lived there at the apartment with him at one time, and he decided to let her go because she had mental issues, you know. And he even told me, "Is there any way that we can help her?" And I told him, "We can only suggest help for her. Her family can help her, you know." And he says, "Well, I'm going to take her back home, you know." And he did. He took her home and to the place where the house is not burned.
Hmm.
Uh, he dropped her off. Um, when he dropped her off, he also left her with, food and money, and that was the last time that that I know that he saw her.
Hmm. So
But
he,
he
I mean, he really cared for this woman, despite what issues she was having, just to take care of her and to care about getting her help. So this is someone that he cared about.
Right. And he even introduced me to her. She came to my house and I met her. And
Hmm.
she looked okay, you know. She did say that she really cared about him. And I
Hmm.
said, "Well, that's fine, you know." And
Yeah.
then when they broke up, she called me crying, saying, "I really love him. I really care for him." And I says, "I have I have no, I can't make his decisions. He's a grown
Hmm.
man.
Right.
That's his life, you know.
Right.
We'll talk to him." And I says, "I can talk to him, but that's his choice, you know." And that's where it stayed, you know. He would go and check on her every now and then. And then I think the electricity was cut off in her place. And he even placed her in like a hotel motel for a while, you
Yeah.
know.
So he really cared. And then, after those two places go up in flames, her relative's house and then your son's house, she
Hmm.
tells someone, I got him good, and he's in storage now.
Right. Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
that is
And
so
that person,
disturbing.
right. And that person called the arson investigator,
Mhm.
and they met. And the person, she said to the arson, "Here, you can take my phone if you want to." But by law, you know, an officer cannot take a phone without a warrant.
Mm.
So he left it at
Yeah.
that.
But then the storage unit that she told this person about went up in flames.
Correct. Correct.
Do you
And
think this is a coincidence, these fires?
to me, it is a coincidence because the brother goes missing, you know, and
So you,
Christopher.
you think it's not a coincidence? Like this isn't just random fires to
Right.
you. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not a coincidence, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is also, the person Emmanuel, they were looking for him, and he even told me, because the person that his girlfriend told the other person that Emmanuel was missing. So he went and he was like, "Okay, well, let me go see if I can find her, the girlfriend." And that's when he came back and he goes, "Mom, the house burnt down and
Mm,
Emmanuel's missing."
mm,
And that, I was kind of like, "Well, where is she at?" He goes, "I don't know. I'll see if I can find her." He never did. As far as I know, he never did. So when the person called, um, when she called and said that the girlfriend told her that I got him. I got him good. He's in the storage, you know. And that's when I got the phone call from another friend, and she told me about what was going on. And I was like, I mean, I was very upset, you
Well,
know.
obviously, yeah. I mean, I would be too. And the fact of the matter is, this was 2017, correct?
This was 2020. It's going to be 2 years already. So it's
Okay, okay. So, okay.
2020.
So, and here we are. Like you said, 2 years later, and we still have no answers, even
No,
though the police had that information.
and the police has had interviewed her at one time because we we didn't know where she was living at the time, so we found her and I informed the officers about it. They went and interviewed her, and then they says, "Well, we need for you to come on in for a formal interview." And after that happened, she left the place that she was living with, the person she was living with.
Mm,
She left, and then we found her again living in the home that was burnt. There's a little trailer next to it, and the officers went and spoke to her again, and she claims that she did not know a Christopher Flores.
mm.
I don't know who you're talking about, and I need for you to get off my property.
And there was
So
nothing. So there was nothing that. What I
there's
mean, what did officers say? Why couldn't they do more?
they say they didn't have any hard evidence
Mm,
unless there's a physical or DNA evidence or anything like that. They cannot bring her in. She has to voluntarily come on in. She didn't even want to give her DNA to the medical examiners or whomever on Emmanuel's, on her brother Emmanuel. She didn't want to give her DNA.
yeah.
She says, "Well, my brother already get because there's another brother, as far as I know. Uh, he's already given the DNA. So what do they need mine?"
Gloria,
And
do you believe that she harmed Emmanuel and Christopher?
I, I do, I do,
Mm,
because of her mental state and how she was real upset that Christopher did, Christopher took her back home, because like he says, I cannot deal with a mental person, you
yeah.
know.
But your son was no small guy.
No, he wasn't. You know,
So to think that a woman could do all of this and claim to harm him and put him in the storage. I mean that it's kind of like how could she do this alone? Do you think that she had help?
I'm I'm sure she probably had some help because she's known in the streets. You know, she's been homeless before, and I'm sure she knows of people in the street. You
Mm,
know, that probably could help her. You know, so I also feel like she didn't do it by herself.
mm.
And also, what's so strange is the truck's missing. That's his pride and joy. You saw Christopher, you saw the truck. The truck was never without Christopher.
So his truck hasn't been seen since he went missing.
No. And
Yeah.
we're still looking for the truck. There was a rumor at one time that they they saw a truck like his, but it was painted black.
Mm,
But anybody can have a truck and paint it. But the distinction between his truck is the sound of his truck,
mm.
because people would know when he would be driving to the store or to the neighborhood.
Yeah. It had a
Officers,
specific sound. Yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
even officers knew of his truck. They would sometimes stop Christopher and admire
Yeah.
his truck.
That was his pride and joy from what what I
Oh
remember
yeah,
from hearing your story. But how has it been for you still, 2 years later, not knowing? I mean, do you think that you'll ever get the closure that you need?
I'm hoping I will be able to find closure. I mean, every time there's a decomposed body or a body being found, I pray, that maybe it might be Christopher. I I go on the medical examiner's website to check, you know, and it's hard, especially with my little granddaughter, my little great granddaughter, his granddaughter. She visits him too, and she even looks for the truck, and she even tells me, Nana, we're gonna find him. We're gonna find Grandpa, you know.
Yeah.
But I miss Grandpa, but also because she lost her dad also, so she knows the losses just like I do.
Yeah.
The loss of my grandson, her, and now my son, not knowing where my son is at. You know, I wish the person whoever did this would at least tell me what happened to him, so
Mhm.
that way I and the rest of the family and friends can have closure.
Yeah.
His friends call me, to see if I'm okay. They always check up on me, and they hurt. They hurt because they say I was thinking of Chris today, you
Mhm.
know, and they have pictures of it, in their house, and they talk to him, you know. Um, Even when my oldest son committed suicide about 30 years ago.
Mhm.
That's Christopher's brother, and even his friends call. Even as of now, 30 years later, they still call and they give me comfort,
Mhm.
and they miss my sons.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful that you have that support. We wanted to really do this today just to keep Christopher's name out there, and to keep reminding people that your family needs answers, that you need answers, and you need that closure. So every little bit helps.
Oh
Um,
yes,
yeah. So I thank you for taking the time to come on and do this, and I'm glad that we can keep Christopher's name out there and hopefully bring you the closure that you need.
yes, and then there is an author, Mary Robbins, that in, that did a book, "The Missing in Texas," and Christopher's story is in her book.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes, I.
So you're still, I think it grants, especially, speaking to you and other families, just knowing that you're doing all you can
Yes,
sometimes really, really helps. So I'm glad that we could be another outlet for you to amplify, your voice and to get Christopher's name out there. So
yes, and I even made another flyer, about 6 months ago, about him missing, and we distributed that out in the neighborhood and on Facebook too.
yeah. Well,
It's an
Gloria, thank
additional.
Yeah, as much as we can get out there. Well, Gloria, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to do this. For anybody at home watching this, if you want to take a look at Christopher's truck, if you want to see Christopher's full story, head over to fox26houston.com. There's a section called The Missing. If you hover over news, you'll see franchises, The Missing. Click on The Missing, or you can just type into the search bar Christopher Flores. And not only will you find his story, you'll find the stories of dozens of
Mhm.
other people, families that are missing from the greater Houston area. Take the time, scroll through those stories, go take a look. You never know, you might recognize something or remember something just by watching these videos. And there are so many families, so many mothers like Gloria, so many sisters, daughters, granddaughters, loved ones who just really want closure and want to know what happened to their loved ones. And you might be able to help with that. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to tune into this. Gloria, thank you again for being here.
Thank
And
you.
remember, thank you. I appreciate you. And remember, every other Monday we do air The Missing. So make sure you stay tuned. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, Gabby Hart News, for updates on when those pieces will air. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye, Gloria.